everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Atkin. I'm your host, Olivia Atkin. Each week, we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. We will give you real-life stories on growing personally and professionally to achieve your life and career goals with the help of some top-notch guests. Today, we are speaking with Joe Yocavitch. Joe is the president and founder of JML Financial Group for the past 37 years. He is also the author of many financial books, the host of the Heart of Your Money radio show and podcast, which you can find on his website. Prior to his career in financial planning, Joe played for the Kansas City Chiefs. You can find Joe by going to his website, jmlfinancialgroup.com, or by calling his office at 856-751-1771. Hello, Joe. It's fantastic having you on the show.
Hello, Olivia. How are you? I missed you. I haven't seen you since a week ago. So I really do miss you.
I know, I've missed you too. I feel like it's been forever.
I know. I tell you, you haven't been on my boardwalk in a while.
No, we can come visit though. To
You got
start,
it. That's what I want to hear.
to start off the show, can you tell me what success means and looks like to Joe Yocavitch?
Well, first of all, we got to change that guy you're talking about, Yokovich. His name is Yakovich, but that's close. Yakovich, Yokovich. You can change. You can call me anything you want, Olivia. It's Yakovich, but yes, that's a mouthful of a question, and I'll do my best. I mean, I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to, and really privileged enough to do something that I love to do, which is my profession. It's more of a career for me by helping people, and I'm no different than a surgeon in the financial realm. I save people financially from never running out of money, from paying the least amount of tax, but in general, it's just really helping people. And it's really been my luck of fortune to get into a profession that I really enjoy, being part of the community, but more importantly, really engaging with people and seeing how I'm able to improve their environment, and because of my background playing sports, no matter what direction I'm able to at least instill in them and inspire them to take action on some of the things that we do financially.
Joe, you started your professional career playing football for Kansas City Chiefs. And before I dive into this question, I have to say it since we're recording literally the Monday right after the Super Bowl.
Yep, yep,
And how is that for you? Because for the people who do not know, you live in Jersey, but you
yep.
played for Kansas.
Yeah, well, that was a strange thing. My career went in a lot of different directions. I had a lot of tryouts with NFL player teams. Kansas City was one of them. From playing sports, from playing college and not being drafted, I was a long shot to even play or even try out. I had a number of tryouts. I was picked up by Kansas City, and then very short period of time, not long, where I got hurt and they released me. But I've learned a lot of things that went along the way, in being able to compete at that level. And one of the things was tenacity. You really got to be tenacious today and be a hard worker, which sometimes people take for, doesn't look at it from my point of view, but really, constantly learning and changing with the environment. And it's like what happened yesterday with the Eagles and the Chiefs. They were ahead by 10 points, the Philadelphia Eagles, but they didn't adjust to the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was obvious to me that they didn't make those adjustments. Now, I, as a ball player and a player, not just a fan, I was able to pick that up quickly. And in life, it's basically the same thing. You need to be able to change and adapt yourself with things that are taking place in front of you. And technology is really just, in some ways, great, but in some ways not as great, because you lose that intimacy when you're talking to people, which I do my best to continuously do this through, like we're doing today, coincidentally, seeing your face, seeing my face, talking, having a conversation with people. So for me, it's constant learning. It's constant growing, and it never stops. And I love what I do, so it kind of makes it even easier, Olivia, when when I do this for my profession and my business.
And I think that's a key point, and as you said, yesterday was the example of it. No matter your situation or your growth in your career, right? That
Right.
was the biggest game of the season, of the year that you could
Yep.
be in, and you need to, even at that point, be able to grow and look at situations and say, "Okay, this isn't working, we need to try this." Pivot quickly and adjust to that.
Correct. Correct. And you saw that yesterday in the highest format, and it's just a coincidence that you're doing this interview the day after the ball game. So we were able to be somewhat Monday morning quarterbacks. But as I was watching the game, and I don't watch the game at this level with people around me, I really don't want to hear what you have to say or think. I'm watching it from the way I watch it. And it was, to me, it was obvious that the adjustments were not made accordingly, and you saw the other team take advantage of that and win outright. I remember everybody's talking about what happened at the end. It didn't happen. That was
Yeah.
right after the first half. It was all downhill from that point. So for us, we believe in game planning with people. Like, we put a game plan together for our clients. So it's kind of, it goes hand in hand, and just a coincidence. The Eagles and the Chiefs played together, which is kind of like, talking about how strange that is in itself, but having the fact that we're on a phone together or being a Zoom together to have this conversation.
Yeah, and you're totally right. As someone who wasn't a player in the NFL but worked in the NFL, even when I watch games, I look at it from a totally different
Correct.
standpoint and viewership. And it's hard for me to even sit with my friends or be out at a restaurant and I'm like, the flag's about to drop. They're about to
Right.
like replay that. And you're like, they're like, "How do you know that?" And I'm like, "Enough games, enough being on the field or watching it from the press box, knowing what they're about to call."
Yep.
S So, Joe, when you decided to go into financial planning after your football career, what
Yep.
mindset did you take and lessons learned from playing football that helped you in your mindset of financial planning?
Well, I wanted to take a complex subject like money and try to really make it simple. I really do, because it is because of the technology and the things that are changing, and with social media that we're on today. I mean, it's constantly changing. So for us, this has been with us for a while, either pre and post COVID. I wanted to make sure that we were changing accordingly to what was going on in our society. You just can't do the same things that I was doing 37 years ago and expecting to get the same result. I'm afraid to tell you that doesn't work that way any longer. So I take responsibility and make recommendations so I can provide and not make mistakes. I have to be mistake free with people, money, because it's so critically important. That's why I wrote my book, the Heart of Your Money. Purposely, that was my one of my first books, and then the Bulletproof Your Retirement, and then the Wealth Beyond Taxation. Purposely to cut, and they weren't long books, mind you, Olivia. They were short 100 pagers. And you might ask, well, Joe Yocavitch, why didn't you write a 200 or 300 page book? Well, today people are a little ADD, ADHD. We have really short attention span. And I take that because I'm a little bit like that. So I took that idea and I said, what if I was able to put a couple of different books together that really emphasize how to make money, but more importantly, what are the strategies and how to put those strategies together with a good game plan. And that really is from evolution from playing sports, believe it or not. I never thought about it until, I started to do more and more of it. So for me, it was be able to make a very, in the world we live in, a complicated subject with all the things that are happening in our world, from taxes, from inflation, from the planned obsolescence, from technology changes, from volatility in the market. I mean, I can go on and on and on, and to take that information and to simplify it so people can look at it and understand it, because I want people to really kind of get it, but get it in a very quick way because they don't have a long time. They got things to do, and so I try to do my best to do that, and I always inspire myself and my son that works with me, and my wife that works with me, a partner of mine, to do that for all our clients.
And I think that's one of the key things you'd mentioned in that as well was the fact you were creating a book that was short, concise, which is great because that is like your game plan, your game book for a game like you were doing with the with playing football
Correct.
prior to that is the book and you putting together plans for individuals. Those are their game day playbook of how they're going to navigate their life. And like, you and I both know in playing football, every game could have a different playbook.
Correct, exactly. So everybody's a little different. Like you're different than the person I talked to today. Everything's different that you have going on, your goals, your objective, what you want to achieve. We're kind of your is it the called the Sherpa? We're getting you up and down the mountain. We're here to guide you, and we want to listen to what you have to say and think because that's because you hear and see things that maybe I do not. So therefore, how can we as a partnership when we do business with people, how can we improve on that, and how can I give you another set of eyes and ears and sometimes a second opinion, and you would get that if you had to go to your own doctor for a serious operation. It's no different than me. So when we incorporate the philosophy and real belief system and really commit it to help people this way, it changes the game. And it doesn't change the game just for you, Olivia, because we're going to be end up being clients. You're going to be clients of ours. But it's almost a partnership. It really becomes a almost a family methodology on and how and why we do what we do. There are going to be some wrestling matches, I'm sure, and I'm okay with that, but you have to be open to be able to have that information for you and me to discuss.
And that's something I want to touch upon. Well, two things, and we'll do one and then we'll do the next, obviously.
Sure.
But your business, you have made a family business. Your wife
Correct.
works with you, your son works with you, and you guys
Correct.
really take the approach with all of your clients that this
Correct.
is a family business. Everyone's a unit. We work together. And how has that shaped and that mindset of your goal of creating a family business shaped how you approach clients or how you approach situations?
Well, it was never my intentions for this to happen of having a family business. It really wasn't. It just happened to be as I was growing my business at a young age and being an entrepreneur. And my parents were not entrepreneurs and they weren't in my business at all. They had their own profession and they were blue collar people. I just took it upon myself and I've been around a lot of smart people. And that's one of the things that I always talk to my son about or other people I talk to and come in contact with. It's not me. I just happen to hang out with the smartest people in the room. And my job is to be able to continue to learn from those people so I can benefit myself personally and they can also, but also I can share that with my clients. So just, for me, when you meet with an advisor, it's so important that they're understanding that philosophy. Not everyone has the same philosophy. And we have that philosophy and we're fiduciary. So for us, we put our clients first, but we make sure we plan together like a team sport. It really is because remember, if you and I were playing professional sports, or if we were playing flag football, you would be a wide receiver, and I would be like on the line because of our size difference. You follow me? And it's no different than in my world. I have an attorney that I work on that works with us. I have an accountant that works with. I have a Medicare person. I have a estate planning, different type of attorneys. I have a business person that handles businesses, buys and sells. So I incorporate that whole philosophy, holistic planning for people. And it's kind of like if I put all the dots together. And this is, why I'm here talking to you today, because it's a lot of fun doing it that way because it's stressless for people. And stress is a big concern of mine, especially now, as you're well aware.
Yes. Joe, let's talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
How do you look at financial planning and approach financial planning? And how do you look at it to try to help others approach it as well, especially when they might have a different concept of what financial planning means, what it's supposed to look like?
Well, with you, Olivia, I'll use you as an example because you would be, a perfect, because it's not just you, your age group, but your situation, but it could be for your parents, it could be for people like your parents. First, I think the most important thing is to start saving at an early age. I don't care what you do, but starting early is exponentially so much better than starting much later. That in itself is, you know, the number one priority. That's why I'm always talking to people. It doesn't matter how old you are, start as fast as you can. Starting. You got to start. Take that first step. Like going to the gym. The hardest part is just getting into the gym. Forget about getting in and doing workouts like I do. I had a workout before I came here today because I knew I normally work out at 5 o'clock on Mondays. But you know what? I said Olivia's going to take that spot, so I have to get in the gym an hour earlier to get my workout in. So I'm very organized. But getting back to you saying, start early and be disciplined. It really becomes you should be a habit to pay yourself first. If you make $1, you should spend 85 cents doing whatever you do and take 15 cents and put it away. Live on 85 and take 15 and put away. If you're able to do that, and we do it at the best, highest format, you will never have a problem with money. You won't have a problem with risk. You won't have a problem with protecting. I will clear up most of your problems in general, as we say. I mean, I kind of put our arms around you, letting our family help your family. So our biggest concern is making sure people understand we're there for them, and sometimes they forget to do that, and sometimes they're afraid because they don't want to inconvenience me. It's not an inconvenience, and I made it that way, and therefore my wife said, we were married and she had her own profession. I said, listen, if you feel like, helping out a little bit, you can. 25 years later, I can't kick her out of the office fast enough. And she does a bang up job for us. I mean, she is the glue that is put together for all of us because she does a lot of the stuff. She's licensed also. So it gives me a major hurdle that I don't have to go over. And she's really, really good with women clients when I'm sitting down with that. And I've been in some serious situations. My wife is making fun of me over here. She's walking by. But you understand when you're sitting down with a woman that just lost her husband, when you see that, and it's not the first time, this is a few times, it changes the whole game plan. I mean, it is amazing when you see it in front of you. No matter how good I am, and I am as best as I could possibly be at that moment, when Lynn comes in the office or comes into a conference room with us and we're discussing that, and real people, not her investment person hat on her or insurance person or estate planning hat. No, it's woman to woman, couple to game planning like that. That changes the whole dichotomy of the conversation. It's not about the money. It's about how we can take what we have or don't have or need to have and put it together for the benefit of the person we're dealing with. And that's you can't. That is like the
And I
best
think
feeling.
And I think that's a key point you're bringing up. At the end of the day, everyone's a human being and
Mhm.
everyone has a story and goals. And
Correct.
when you don't look at someone as, I want to put it this way, a dollar sign, but
Correct.
take into account all the moving pieces in their life as well, it becomes a healthy, great relationship that you have with your client. But it helps you also say, I got you. Okay, what do you really want? Let's have that transparency so I can get you what you want.
That's a Joe Yock thing. That's not a Philly thing. That's a Joe Yock thing. Now, when I say that, what does that mean? My last name is Yocavitch, but I always reference myself as a third party. My wife gets yells at me at this, but I'm really committed to that. I really am. I really it's not like you said, it's not a money thing. It's being able to see and feel it. And because I personally, with my own parents, went through that episode. I watched what happened with my mother and father when my father died and my mother was not left a pension plan. So I can share with people like this happened to me and I don't want it to ever happen to you. And that takes a whole different mindset. And I didn't know that was going to happen. I believe me, Olivia, that was not my thought going get into the business. But as it started to unfold, I get more people saying to me, "You are the luckiest guy." Some people, how do you work with your wife? I tell her she's on the second floor, I'm on the first floor, but that's another story. But we work, it works together and it really is a holistic view on somebody's financial life, and we get so entrenched with them, it's their personal life also.
And I think it shows too that human factor and, you know, just from start to end, your family, your son, your wife, everyone's involved from the beginning.
Mhm.
You're never like, oh, wait, who are the other people in the office? Who are the other people? You know, right off the bat, you build relationships with everyone. And you talked a little bit earlier about how sometimes your wife can approach situations or has strengths that you might not have in
Correct.
certain situations. For you, and having your wife and your son there, how has the ability to kind of pivot and build on each other's strengths when you need them helped in?
Well, with you is this, I'm going to give you again. You, when you were in my office for the first time, and you were invited, and we both had agreed. When you came in, I knew that I knew what my capabilities were to a certain point, and then when Michael was there, he took over, and as you're well aware, and you're doing this podcast, you're making this stuff up, but you guys connected like immediately. I mean, you connected with me on the phone because we were also having a conversation about certain person you had on a podcast, and I met up with him, and he's a friend of ours, and he works with our firm. But when you and Michael talk that language, I had to take a step back, and not necessarily step back. I think I stepped sideways because I knew I didn't play that position. Like I was not the, nose tackle, or I was not the receiver. I was the linebacker. You follow me? Everybody has a position. So when you guys talked, that whole conversation went into that direction, but we were still in the same building, inside the whole format of what we talk to people about. So that is why, and you saw it up close and personal. I mean, if anyone is telling this story, you have lived through it and it wasn't intentional. It just happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think from my own experience, right, going back to that conversation we
Yeah.
had, one of the great things is, as you know, and you and I are both like this, we are human interactive people. We like talking. We we like
Oh, did my even more? Whoa, you take it to a whole level, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. That's why you're a receiver. You're out there going down the field for me. I'm going to throw as long, as hard as I can. You will catch it. I guarantee you. But so, yes, but it's a
but
good thing.
the thing is, when we're talking and in that moment, there were things you and I were saying that you and
Yes.
I understood that Michael
Correct.
didn't understand.
Hmm.
And then there were moments when we were talking about different things like the podcast that you
Hmm.
guys do, the radio show, and there I was saying stuff and Michael was like, "Oh, I got this. I
Right.
understand what you're talking about."
Right.
So you could see there was never a moment of like down in the conversation or like,
Right.
"Oh, let me look at it." It was an easy flow of, "Okay, tag you're it. You jump in. You know how to jump in without jumping on anyone's toes
Right.
and flow right into the conversation, keep it moving so that the other person could sit there, pick up on everything and then continue when they need to jump in, which I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, what's more important, and yet yes, you say it and you say it fluently, but you know it has to happen fluently. It has to see it when I spoke with you, and you spoke with us, and this is just a I don't want to catch you by surprise, but it was fluent. It wasn't like it was difficult. It was natural. And we, when I say we, my firm, my wife, um, my son, we also work with a major conglomerate that we work with that feel the same way as we do. So we have access to the most powerful, vehicles and strategies on the planet. So it kind of I have that same relationship with them, and I fly out to see them. It really is a game changer. It really is. For us, it's been fortunate because of technology. We could do this anywhere in the world if you think about it. And because of my exposure to a lot of different people, politically too, by the way, it gives me an advantage. And do I take advantage of it? Absolutely, to the advantage of being able to really truly help people. And if they don't want my help, or if they're a little bit not nice to us, I cut them off the team. I cut them. But it usually when people see that way we appreciate, they don't want to leave because I have cut people and no, no, we want to be with you. Well, you can't be mean to us, or you can't say things on the phone that might not be if you're like in a way that we don't like because we're doing our best to help you. It's not our fault that because of COVID hit and the people, the big companies they're running out of labor. I can't help that. I'm just doing my part to try to expedite some of these things. But in general, we have been lucky enough and fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to be in a profession that we really feel good about ourselves when we're finishing. So for us, it's not about anything wrongdoing. We want to make no mistakes. We want to score every chance we get with the client. We want to make sure that what we do for them, they understand completely because it is a complicated subject. And then it's a question of ongoing, never ending, because it never changes. Let's face it, it's like a relationship. I mean, you got to still show a little love in a way that it's important and as well as I do, it's called communication. So we do communicate with our clients in a way that they get it and we get it. And if they have questions, we give them all our numbers and our cell numbers. So we're not hiding, you
Oh, trust
know.
me, you guys are not hiding.
No, I mean I have no problem. I have a radio show, I have a talk in, and people get in, they say things, and I go, "That's not true. Who told you that?" And we have a conversation. No, and I okay, and I send them one of my books. And I get let me prove it to you, and blah blah blah. And I get information from when I say third party. It's not like propaganda third party. It's real good, solid, core stuff that they can understand how fees work, taxes, risk, the whole 9 yards. But it's been a lot of fun, and it only gets more fun if that possible.
Let's talk about those hard conversations
Sure,
because it's I feel like some people are comfortable talking about money and
I
they're like, here it is, here's my full transparency. Let's dive into it. I'm comfortable. Here we go. And it's very easy for them. Other people it can go to the other end of the spectrum and it can be very uncomfortable. They don't want to talk about it, even possibly with a financial planner. They don't know how to approach it and it can get uncomfortable. How do you approach those situations with individuals of saying, no, it's okay. Let's open it up. If
no,
you
no,
don't
no.
feel
I
comfortable,
I I do it the most that I believe that's the simplest. I first, if I find that to be true with a person like that, if they don't want to even meet me in person, but they sometimes do, I try to give them information, like the books I've written. They're easy readers. They're big type, and they're also have pictures and stuff in it and graphs. So I want to be able to have them learn at their own speed. Then I give them white papers. Then I give them information, tidbits of information, not 90 pages long, a page or two long. And that's kind of what I do. I get them to start to buy into the educational process before they go, okay, I understand why you're doing that for us, Joe Yak. And to me, Joe, that's fine. And I go, okay, fine. Joe, tell me more about, okay, I'll explain more. But most of the time that I speak with them, they've received some type of either an analogy, an example. I use a lot of examples. I was in a speaking course, Bill Go, a couple of years ago. And it said the top speakers in the world do one thing. And the one thing they do is they tell a story and they make a point. And they make a point, they tell a story. So what I try to do with people in general, is tell a story so they understand the point I'm trying to make. Like in my one of my books about getting up the mountain, I talk about getting up the mountain is one thing, but trying to get down the mountain is a whole different way of spending your wealth. And I use that analogy all the time. So for me, it's telling stories so people understand the simple the simple way to kind of grasp what I'm saying to them.
And I think that's a key point is not everyone's going to understand something the same way, but telling
Correct.
that story allows you to get the point across in the way the individual's going to perceive it.
Correct. So at the end game is really about them. It's about what's important to them and how important that is and what type of priority they want to make. But my job is to make sure whatever we speak about in terms of money, we walk away with what you want me to do. Did you want this to happen and what could I have done differently or better or how can we improve on that moving forward? I mean, I'm being very vulnerable with people, but it's not about it being vulnerable. I want to make sure that people have clarity when it comes to this stuff because it really is. I'm not. I have to laugh because of all the readings and all the things I remember. I'm up at 5:30, 6 o'clock and reading or getting information so I can share every day for the rest of the world of what I do and say. So I have to be, and I'm well read, never thinking that that was ever going to have to be. But now that I am, and I like it, there's the problem. I like it. I really do. I like it. I'm no different than I tell you. I like working out a couple days a week. I really like it, and I made it a habit. So when you do want to do something, even you, Olivia, you get up a half hour early and you commit yourself to that half hour of learning something new. And I do that. So I try to teach my son that, and he has took that upon himself. So it is a really a fun time, but it is an issue of communicating that particular situation with the person I'm dealing with. And it could be no matter where they're located. I could be sitting at Starbucks having a cup of coffee and straighten up a conversation about this because money is like I don't know if you know this or not. It is on people's mind a lot. I mean, really a lot. I mean, there's some statistic that blows me away, especially you're in your 50s and 60s. When you're maybe in your 20s and 30s, not as much. It depends on how much you're driven for that. But other people that are getting ready to retire or close to it, believe me, they think about it a couple times a day. So I'm in the I'm in the right building, so to speak. But now I got to get them to the right room to make sure that of all these things are taken care of for them.
Joe, you had mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show
Sure.
how individuals, it's important to start right away. Once you're in the mindset of like, yes, I'm going to start saving. And for some individuals, that mindset can be at a very young age. Some people, it could be later in their life. They're like, oh, wait, I need to be doing this. You had brought up earlier one way to look at the money you bring in, spend a certain amount, save a certain amount per dollar, however you want to look at it. What is another strategy that an individual can use to start saving and changing their mindset on saving in their everyday life?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, it still goes back with at least having and I don't want to use the B word, but it's some type of budgeting in their own head. They got to be thinking about, okay, if I'm making this type of money, let me put some bucks away, and not just for a rainy day, but maybe an opportunity that could come down the road very quickly. Could be a business, could be a piece of real estate. I mean, it could be a number of things, really. Could be an IPO. I mean, there's so many different variables that is there's opportunists to be able to take. It could be just taking a vacation, get your head kind of on straight. But what we try to do is when people are in the mindset of thinking about retirement or at least saving, you know, we need to have a conversation about that. That's a very upfront conversation, not just, how do you feel about that? And the reason why I say that to you, because we ask certain questions. Now, I don't know if you remember, but some of the questions I ask are real simple, like, where are you from? And the people will tell me, and I'll kind of know where they're from. I said, how was it growing up? Now, I ask that question because when they answer, I'll find out in a very short period of time, and everybody's pretty much, I mean, I'm not saying everyone, but I'm saying a lot of people will tell you, yeah, it was difficult growing up, or I was taught at an early age to save, or I had a job, or, I was gifted where my parents had so much money, they gave me everything I wanted. I mean, it's a lot of different answers I hear, really. It's all over the place. But when you get that when they answer that question seriously, because you want to catch, I'm not here to talk about money yet. I'm here to talk about, what their experiences were growing up. I haven't asked them about money. Money was never the question until I say to them, well, how did you deal with money, and what were the goods and bads of you having and dealt with money? And they'll tell me, follow me. So it's not I didn't ask them about, how much money they have or where they invested it. They might tell me, yeah, man, I bought this. So I know they're not going to be a real proponent, or they might be, or might think about things that are different because they made mistakes. And how can we help them not to make those same mistakes again? You know, so it's a number of things that we asked our clients and prospects about. But money is a very close to the vest sometimes with people. Like you might go, I don't want to talk about money. Okay. Well, remember, the do-it-yourselfers out there, that does not work today. It's an almost impossible to be a do-it-yourselfer today because there's so many different things that the government has thrown at us. The government you think is our friend, but they're really not our friend. You know, and the more successful we become to the government, the biggest, the biggest sign on our back, the target on our back gets larger because the more money we make. So we have to learn the rule, and we have to use the rules to our advantage. And we can't think of it any other way. We have to think what the wealthiest people are doing and bringing it to everyone if we're able to do that. And it's unfortunate, but it is that. I mean, it's the question becomes, how much do you want to know about what you have going on? Because when you start to factor in all the variables that are out there, it's scary sometimes. From renting versus owning, from buying versus leasing, from having term versus perm, having a Roth versus an IRA. I mean, just that in itself is one way. Then, okay, what kind of portfolio? Is it international? Is it domestic? Is it small cap, large cap? Should I or should I not have the health insurance or disability contract? Should I not? Should I have a will? Not. There's so many different things that are spiraling out of control until I talk to the person and try to, okay, this is where let's stay in this corner and let's see if we can grow out of it and see what's going on. But, factoring in where you came from and how you have gotten to the point that I speak with you, will determine, what, direction we turn in. And that's kind of, I leave it for that person to let me know where should I go with them.
And I want to bring up something else
Sure.
you said in the beginning of this, and you're going to laugh
You
because,
remember everything. You remember everything.
but the word budget, the B word.
Budget, the B word. I don't
And
even like that word. It actually makes my lips get chapped. But right, yes, budget. Yes, God, I'm sorry.
no, you're okay. So that word budget can mean a lot of different things to a lot
Yes,
of
it is.
different
Yes, yes, it is.
Joe's laughing because I am all about the budget and knowing
You're a queen of budgeting. You are the queen of budget. If you ever, I'm telling you, I'm surprised you don't have a tattoo on your shoulder that has budget, queen budget girl. Go ahead.
but how do you tell individuals who, you know, could be on either end of the spectrum with how they look at budgets, the key in your eyes to kind of say budgeting themselves?
Well, you know what I do sometimes? We change the word from budgeting to WA. WA. Now, what is WA, you might ask, right? WA stands for Wealth Accumulation Account. It's called WAA. I made it up some years ago. And what I did was I get people to open up a checking account and rename their checking account WA. Have a couple of WAs. Because when the money comes in, it gets split to number one WA, two WA, and three WA. Each of these WAs are set purposely. One could be for partying at the end of the year, vacation. Another one could be for long term investments. Another one could be short or medium term investments. So you can have a number of WA accounts, but be able to budget and still party with the rest of your money. It's important. Put 5% in each wallet account, depending on your situation. But you really got to have a conversation about that in terms of uh, having an open communication of how budgeting and what you're doing with the money. I don't want you to put in that checking account getting no interest rate and paying tax on it. And with inflation being what it is, you're going reverse. You're going to and you don't know it, but you're going in the reverse. I mean, you're looking at the rearview mirror and something's wrong here. You're not moving ahead. You're going backwards, even though you feel like you're moving ahead because you don't know any better because you haven't looked at what else is around you called inflation and taxes. So you got to really understand why we would share with that information with you to see if you're doing the right thing. Because you might say, "Well, Joe, I don't want to do that." Okay, what would you like to do? Well, we able to just put the money away for a short period of time until you figure out what you want to do. And that's where we knock on your door if it's every 6 months, every year. Are you ready to make a move? Are you ready to, move in that direction that we talked about? So for me, it could be anything, but we want to make sure, what you do is looked at from, at least from my perspective, from being in the business as long as I have, because I'm duly licensed. I'm not just, insurance license and all that fun stuff, but I'm also securities license. I have a Wall Street background. So for me, when you have duly licensed, you really can't say much to me without me saying, well, I don't know about that. That's a little bit like, I'll give you an example. What if I give you an example? Bitcoin, not blockchain, but Bitcoin came in. And I try to explain to people, it's a great thing, but it's current. It's a currency, but it's not backed up or anything. Now, if you back it up like as much as we're not going to talk about currency, but in general, the U.S. dollar, it's backed up on a full face of credit the United States government. Bitcoin, there's no backup. It's kind of cool. Like, listen, I got a Bitcoin here. It's called a pen. Can you give me 2,000 for that? What do you mean? Why 2,000? Why not 5,000? I don't know. I just picked the number. So that is a newish, grooviest thing that's happening out there. But we like fundamentals. We like to make sure people understand the long term effect of what we do. We want to protect them. We want to make sure they grow their assets. We want to make sure they're entrepreneurs. We want to make sure they open their own businesses. We want to make sure they have the right companies. We want, like in your case, you have an S corp, a C corp, or a LLC. We want to make sure you're doing and taking advantage of all the things that are out there. And that's kind of what we do. And we bring a team in of experts to help you say to you, well, how much do you want to budget for this? How much you want to budget? Because you're eventually going to say to me, Joe Yocavitch, I want a new car. We have to start budgeting or budgeting a bill that's going to come down the pipes eventually. It could be a lot of reasons, or it's such.
And I think that's a key point is budgeting can be for many different reasons. It can
Right.
be many different amounts,
Correct.
and it can be as simple as you said earlier, opening a few accounts or putting a, you know, dollars into a few different areas and build that up. And if you're not comfortable, like, people have different comfort levels. Also, there's different incomes that come in and everything else.
Right.
Sometimes it's, I don't want to write a check or put $2,000 in the bank today. That can be anxious for some people. However, what you can be doing is start putting that $5, $10 instead of getting your coffee at Dunkin', 5 cups in a week, get four and put that money steadily aside. So then when those things do come down the pipeline, you've been building it. When you said when you do get to a point you feel comfortable in investing and you know, like you said earlier, some people are like, I don't want to do that for 6 months. Okay, well, in that 6 months, steadily build up to that point you are ready. So in 6 months, you can turn around and say, okay, I feel comfortable now. Because as you had said earlier as well, sometimes things come down the pipeline that you are unaware they're going to be coming down. So when you're able to plan slowly for it, it gives you the capability to say, even if that comes down the pipeline in 4 months instead of 8 months, I will have a plan in place.
Well, the plan of action is so important, and with any business plan or individual plan, you have to have a plan. And you have to really with us because we put people on the plans, and they don't have to be as extravagant as people might think or get overwhelmed. But when we put a plan together for someone, what we do is every year we tweak the plan. And sometimes people get overwhelmed until they start to understand how simple it is. And when they do, I explain to them every year, I want them to at least address the fact that they need to look at it and say, okay, are they happy? Are they in the right mode of their plan? And making sure we check on that.
Joe, what is the biggest faux pas or biggest mistake you see individuals make, whether it's professionally with their money or personally, that you think one tip, one little thing they could do differently that can help them succeed rather than set them back? That if only they knew, it could alter everything.
Oh, that's an easy one. You're giving me a little underhand softball one. The first one is the most in like to me stands out called the big long P word called procrastination. People procrastinate like I've never seen before. I can't tell you how many times that people have said to me, "Oh, I should have done that 5 years ago. I wish I would have met you 10, whatever." Procrastination is the number one reason why people fail financially, and they beat themselves up with it. I heard something many years ago. They said a successful person. Now, hear what I'm about to say, and I hope Olivia you can understand this because you're on your way of being very successful. A successful person will make decisions fast and change them slow versus make decisions slow and change them fast. So to be an entrepreneur, you have to make quick decisions. And just because if you made a decision, it doesn't turn out the way you like, that you'll learn from that. But the ones that make decisions slow, it it passes by them. So in general, what we try to do with our in general, talking to people that especially entrepreneurs and business people that we talk to, we address that because we kind of coach them, so to speak, financial coach them. But I have doctors, I have surgeons that I speak with about this, and they make everything that we do. They follow my recommendations to a T because I make it simple for them to understand. They can't afford to make a decision and take their time on it or procrastinate with it. I'll give them a time frame to it would be so they can do their own research. But a surgeon has to make a spontaneous decision or the patient dies. So no different in our decisions that we make with our clients. You can wait so long, then it's just like cut bait, and they're never going to make the decisions, from the beginning. So that's what we see in the marketplace. So we try to recognize that up as quickly as possible with people.
And that's a key point in life, not just financial planning. You
Correct.
have to make the decision. You
Correct.
can't let it go on for 6 months, a year. You
Correct.
can't go in between. You have to make a decision and stand by it, because if you
Mhm.
don't stand by your decision, you're going to end up regretting it. But you have to make the move. You can't
Correct.
just talk the talk. You have to walk the walk. You
Well,
have
sometimes you have to, and I'm sure you can appreciate this. Sometimes you have to go with your gut. You just have to go with your gut. And I made a lot of decisions just with my gut and turned out phenomenal. Not too many have turned out bad because I learned from that, though.
That's the thing. You learn from it. And like you
Correct.
had said earlier, it's not just learning from it, but when you make a decision and it doesn't go well, or you're not liking the projection that it's going, okay, reevaluate and go a different way. And that's
Correct.
a key thing you had said earlier that I think is so important is you reevaluate with your clients every 6 months to a year, because
Correct.
things are always changing. And that's
Mhm.
important to realize that, you can have a mindset of, okay, well, when I get to this point, I'll do A, B, and C, right? But because that'll be the right time. And then you get to that time frame a year from now, and those bullet points of eight, okay, it's the right time. Well, now something else is going on.
Right.
So now it's not actually the right time. We gotta push it out. And you come into this rhythm of saying, okay, it's not the right time to do this. But in life, there's never going to be the golden ribbon, right time, everything's perfect. There's always moving pieces.
Not
So
happening. Right.
right.
You're
So
right.
you have to make the decision. If it's a great one, great. You learned from that. There's positive things you've learned from it. If it's not a right decision, or it changes, because things change and it changes in 6 months to a year, you reevaluate what the situation is. And with the help of your team, you can pivot that. And I think that's a great thing, is always saying, okay, every 6 months to a year, get comfortable with reviewing this, because things change, whether it's,
Correct.
you know, the environment or it's your own situation or mindsets, everything changes. So, Joe, how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
Easy, easy. That would be JML Financial Group. Um, .com is my website. They can go on and spend a few minutes on there. It really's got some cool stuff on there. I mean, I'm sure when people go on there, they'll learn a few things, and they'll also get a chance to um, see me with some of my professionals. I got some testimonials on there, people of doctors and politicians, believe it or not. I mean, even though that it's one of those things, but I have a number of politicians that are clients of mine, and I take care of their estate plan and other, some other information that people can, can tap into, and they can go in their calendar inside the site, and I'll give them my number here at 856-751-1771. And they can either make an appointment through the calendar or give us a call or go onto our website at JML Financial Group.com, and they'll be able to get a chance to talk to us and make an appointment with us.
Thank you, Joe, for all of your insight today.
No, thank you today for all your great questions today.
A few of our key takeaways from today's conversation are holistic planning. It's key to look at the whole picture, not just a piece of the picture, to figure out not just what you want, but your goals and where you want to go and how they all fit together. And start saving at early on and get disciplined with it. The more you do something, the more it becomes natural, the more it's not just a mindset of, okay, I have to do this. It's, oh, I'm already doing it. It is what it is.
It's a habit. I turn into a habit.
Yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for, a habit. Learn at your own speed. Everyone has a different speed of taking in knowledge, really how much research they want to do. Learn at your own speed, but be open to learning. And then lastly, tell a story so people can understand your point. Everyone has different perspectives, everyone has different approaches to things, and being able to lead by example and say, this is what was the situation, this is how it turned out, helps other individuals get more comfortable, helps them understand things, and sometimes it takes a few stories, but stories are fun. So this was a great episode with our top-notch guest, Joe Yocavitch. Thank you for listening and have a successful day.